At Affinity Plus, our members come first.
Affinity Plus helped me a lot to pass through this tough time.
My family was negatively affected.
Affinity Plus showed that they are invested in our success.
You are the top priority.
And they did it proactively.
I have found them to be respectful, supportive, and compassionate.
I don't feel judged.
I feel when I go, I'm in safe hands.
And that is why I bank with
Affinity Plus.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Gopher Review and Preview. Thanks to Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union. I'm Justin Gaard from The Fan. I hope you're enjoying your Thanksgiving week. Hopefully, you will get some time to spend with your immediate family, maybe another person or two. But we appreciate you checking us out here on the night before Thanksgiving live or whenever you are watching us. We're on the Facebook page. We're going to be on Twitter. We're going to be on Instagram. So check out all your different social media feeds. And thanks, as always, to Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union for helping us out. They've been great partners all season long, and what a strange season it's been. But if you're interested in becoming a member, if you've got some financial needs, some things you'd like to get taken care of or looked at, Affinity Plus is a great place to do that. Learn more about membership, their mobile app, their video banking, everything right now at affinityplus.org. Unfortunately, we're not going to be previewing anything on this show. We are going to be reviewing the Gophers' victory over Purdue, as well as the Rashod Bateman era of Golden Gopher football. He announced earlier on Wednesday that he is opting back out. To help us talk about that, to help us talk about the Wisconsin game being canceled, I'm going to add him right now. It's Chip Scoggins from the Star Tribune. He's right there. It's always a very dramatic unveil, right. Chipper. So how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you, Guardsy?
I'm doing well. It's this show is called Gopher Review and Preview, and we have nothing to preview this week, which we're going to get to, but we have a couple of things to review, including the Purdue victory last Friday night at TCF Bank Stadium and the breaking news on Wednesday afternoon that Rashod Bateman is opting back out. I want to just read his statement real quick, as this is a developing story, as we say in the news business. After further dialogue with Coach Fleck and my family, we decided that after this most recent COVID-19 outbreak and the cancellation of this weekend's game, that it made the most sense to begin to focus on the next stage of my career. Minnesota's changed me forever, and the lessons I learned in the road about culture will stay with me for the rest of my life. There's no better coach to play for in the nation than Coach Fleck, and I appreciate everything he has done for me. I can't thank my coaches enough for always supporting me and always pushing me to change my best each day. With that being said, I'm excited for everything I can and will do to be a positive influence in this community that has welcomed me with open arms. None of it goes unnoticed. I know I have a ton to be thankful for, and I wish everyone a happy and healthy Thanksgiving holiday. Minnesota, I love you. Rashod Bateman. Chip Scoggins, some big news the day before Thanksgiving. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say I'm not surprised by that. And I would also say I think he's making the right decision. Obviously, with the way COVID is going right now, you had a game canceled. It's spiking and surging around the country. And let's be honest, this season is you're not winning the Big Ten West. It's not worth the injury risk, I don't think, to Rashod Bateman. You're sitting on the likelihood of being a first-round draft pick, and your team's at 2-3. You just had a game canceled. You have 2 games left, possibly 3. I don't think it's worth it. And look around. The Penn State tight end Freiermuth had a seasoning injury last week.
Yeah,
it's just not worth it. Anybody should hold that against Rashod, and I don't. I think most people are going to look at this and say, you know what, we completely understand why you're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've always said that of all the people I thought would potentially opt back in to a spring season, perhaps when that was a thing, or even coming back in like this last year, was Rashod, because I do think he means it when he talks about his relationship 100%. With Coach Fleck is pretty strong. And some people were kind of confused when I said that a couple of months ago. I go, the guy got a row the boat tattoo, right? I mean, the guy is locked in. On what Coach Fleck is doing. So it's, I guess none of it was surprising, especially, when he mentioned that he had COVID-19 earlier this summer. Meg Ryan talked about that in the Star Tribune. There's risk for everybody in the injury, and we'll talk about this, but I'm not optimistic about this Northwestern game being played a week from Saturday. So it's none of it, I guess, surprises me at all.
No, and that's the other thing. As you look ahead to Northwestern, and I think we're going to find out later today from Mark Cole, they said they had some presumptive tests yesterday, which basically means they need to test today to make sure they're not false positives.
Right.
So I fully expect that number is probably going to go up today. So I would say that Northwestern game's in doubt now too. If you had 15 new cases this week between players and coaches, and I think there's going to be more coming on top of that today. And so I think there's some real doubt about whether you're going to be able to play Northwestern next week. But I think, I guess it didn't surprise me. I'm with you that Rashod wanted to come back because I think he does have deep feelings with his connection with his coach, with his player, with his teammates. I think there might have been a little bit of guilt watching them play if he was sitting out. And he probably just, didn't want to sit on the sideline or,
Right.
in downtown Minneapolis watching his team play when he could have been out there and the injury risk wasn't so – it wasn't like the spring. I would have said there's no chance he would have played because I don't think the top prospects would have done that. But I know he's not going to come out and say, hey, we're 2-3 and this feels like we're going nowhere. He's not that. But you can't tell me that this is not part of the factor too, that where the season, where the record is. And now obviously when you're getting games canceled, this season has just been, college football is giving it the best go, but it's gotten completely turned upside down. And there was 18 canceled games last week, and there's probably going to be as many this week. I hope the season can get to the finish line, Guardsy, but I'm losing optimism by the day here.
Yeah, and basketball season starts tonight. We'll talk about that maybe towards the end. But you've covered college football forever. You obviously covered the Gophers when you got to town here as the beat writer. I mean, what is the Rashod Bateman legacy? I mean, let's start thinking globally for what the impact he left here on the program.
I think just in pure talent, he reminds me of Maroney, and just guys that are a different caliber of athlete, different caliber of player. They're just difference makers. And so I think he goes down. I mean, I know he didn't play here, 4 years. It's basically 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And so, he's not going to leave with all the records. But I think just as a singular talent, individual talent, he's one of the all-time most dynamic playmakers they've had. And like I said, having covered him and Maroney, both of them were those type of players where I felt like when they get the ball in their hands, you kind of come to the edge of your seat, right?
For sure, yeah. You
feel like they're going to – as our friend Mace used to say, they could hit a home run anytime. And it just felt like those two players, in my time watching it almost 2 decades, those two stand out as having kind of that unique talent.
When you think about, maybe his signature game was the Penn State game, the touchdown right away where Tanner Morgan finds him. I think he ended up with 7 catches for 203 yards or something like that. I mean, Big Ten wide receiver of the year. I made it a point like mid-October last year, Chip, because I've been around here my whole life, right? Obviously, I've seen a lot of Gopher football, and like you have. And I don't remember what game it was, whether it was Maryland or Nebraska or Illinois, when these guys were just putting up stupid numbers. Tyler Johnson, Chris Ottman-Bell, and obviously Bateman. I'm like, well, I've never seen this in my lifetime for Gopher football, and who knows when we're ever going to see it again. I feel good that I sat there then to be like, I'm going to appreciate what we're watching here, because who knows when this will ever come around again.
Well, and I go back. So my first year on a beat was Maroney's first year, and going to that fall camp, and you know how it's always the seniors and the juniors first in line in individual drills. So Maroney was at the end, and you watched him, and you're like, this is not going to last long. This guy's he's a little bit different than everybody. And I felt the same way the first time I saw Bateman in that first fall camp. You're like, whoa, this is not normal. This is not the normal Gopher wide receiver or running back. And I think to me, like the signature play is the one-handed grab where he sticks his, it's overthrown. You're like, there's no way he catches it. And he just sticks his hand out and hauls it in. It's like, not many guys can make that play.
Right.
But, and it's just watching him catch a slant pass and being able to just gracefully run away from guys. He just makes it look easy. And so, you would hope that PJ will be able to recruit more guys like that, but I think he's just such a special player. And even though it wasn't even 3 full years here, I think he will be remembered, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. I think people will say, yeah, that guy was one of the best wide receivers they've ever had, if not the most talented wide receiver they've ever had.
If you're just jumping on the stream, wondering what you're watching, it's Gopher Football Review and Preview. It's brought to you by Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union. And with everything kind of maybe pausing here in Minnesota again, shutting down again, Affinity Plus wants to make sure that you're getting the same excellent member service that you would experience in their branch from wherever you are. That's why they've got a top-rated mobile app. That's why they go with video banking. You can learn about all of it at affinityplus.org. All right, let's preview nothing, Chip. Wisconsin Badger game gets canceled. Obviously, a bunch of guys popped for COVID last week. They're missing 20 to 22, depending on who you believe, with injuries and COVID-19 and everything against Purdue. It was on Friday, basically, when I started thinking, all right, well, if tests are coming up late in the week, good chance more are coming. This Wisconsin game is definitely in jeopardy. Just your reaction to the news we got Tuesday that, hey, they're pausing football for a while and we'll figure out when they're coming back.
Yeah, so at the game they said, 22 guys. And PJ had his Zoom conference with us Monday. And he said basically half of those were COVID, at least half. And so you're thinking, okay, but some of those, as he said all along, that they're different times. We know St. Juice has been 3 weeks ago, and so they're not all this week. But then when they came out yesterday and said they're pausing, that's never a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
When they said they had to pause because they had some, tests came back that they need to reconfirm. At that point, I think as I texted you, it felt 50-50 at best. And once they retested, you felt like they were just waiting to confirm to make sure they weren't false positives. And so, it's happened so much around the country. I guess I don't know if it's inevitable that it's going to happen to every team, but you can't be surprised by it, right? I mean,
right.
And that's why Mark Kuhl came out and talked to the beat writers last night. And he said, we had more tests that got flagged yesterday afternoon, and they're going to assume they're retesting them today, Wednesday, and they'll update those numbers. The numbers are going to go up. I'm sure there's not all of them are going to be false positives. And so that's why I wonder in the 21 days, I think that Northwestern game is going to be in real jeopardy because you wonder if the cases are not going to continue to climb throughout this week. Now being able to quarantine players and shutting down and pausing the practices and not being in a facility and all that, I think will help contain it. But as Mark said, they don't know where the source started, and
right.
Contact tracing will help. But it's disappointing, and all big picture here, health and safety first. And I don't want anybody to misconstrue that, but it's disappointing because it's I think for you too, like this is my favorite game to cover every year.
Right.
It's the game, just the hatred and rivalry and the longest rivalry in college football. And so, yeah, it's disappointing that they're not going to have an opportunity, and disappointing for the players and coaches that put so much into it. They're not going to have a chance to play this game.
Well, yeah, and I thought it was a nice touch from Paul Chris, the Wisconsin coach, basically saying, hey, look, this sucks for everybody. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. That's not what he said. But I hope everybody's healthy, and this game means so much to everybody. And you think, Wisconsin's just been so dominant in the series that it wouldn't maybe mean as much to them. But they like playing the big brother for sure, which they've done here the last 16 years. But now I'm wondering, though, and I asked Mark Coyle about this, and I know this came up on Tuesday as well, if there aren't a bunch more canceled games, or even if there are, and the Big Ten championship weekend, which was supposed to be East versus West, you'd like to think that there can be some kind of resolution like, look, Minnesota doesn't need to play Michigan State. Wisconsin doesn't need to play Maryland or whatever. Yeah. And there's some teams in the East that need to play each other. Michigan State and Maryland would be one of them. Like, let's take the 19th. Shoot, play it at Miller Park if you want to. Play it at US Bank Stadium if it's going to be 15 below zero, whatever. But I know Mark Coyle seems pretty motivated to do everything he can to convince Kevin Warren to do that. Maybe he's just posturing for the rubes out here. But, man, that would be – they've played since 1890, Chip, and Teddy Roosevelt was the last reason why they didn't play in 1906. So it'd be cool if they could somehow work that out.
Yeah, and this is the one. If it's any other game, you say, okay, not who cares, but this is the one game you really want to play, right? Yeah. This is one where I think you move things around and be flexible to try to get it done. And let's be honest, just have Ohio State play Northwestern. Those are the two best teams. And then everybody else like, who do you want to play? Well, we would play them and just be flexible and
just do a live lottery draft on Big Ten Network. Make it an event. Who are you going to play?
Who's got next? Who's got next?
You'll find out Tuesday night.
Yeah, and so it's pretty obvious Northwestern's going to win the West. They're the best team, and obviously Ohio State in the East. And so just have those two play, and then everybody else figure the best matchups, the best rivalries, whatever. If there's a game that you want it. Go ahead and do it because this season is a lost season at this point for you. It's so chaotic. Might as well just make it really chaotic.
Yeah, I think I like that idea, and it would give you more TV inventory if you just do a live drawing or something like that.
That's right. Have the coaches in there doing it.
Yeah, why not? Our final couple of minutes, Chipper. Let's talk about Friday night's game. Who knows? It might be the last game we saw. I'm not sure.
I know.
But it was finally a night where Tanner Morgan and the offense kind of looked like the offense that we expected it would be. A good balance, nice deep shots, everything there. I mean, what do you think was missing? Obviously, they were running the ball so well in the first few games, Iowa game notwithstanding, but that was the most balanced they've been offensively all year.
Well, and I'll say this, and this is not to discredit, but Purdue ain't Iowa. That defense.
Exactly.
You're facing a better matchup for your offense. But that was the first time I felt like I was watching the offense from 2019. We saw that tunnel screen that we saw a lot last year that worked. We saw the rhythm passes to get Tanner involved. He looked like Tanner from 2019. He looked confident. He looked like he was in control of the offense and had the right balance of the quick stuff, the slants, but also taking some deep shots down the field to Ottman Bell and Bateman. And so is it because Purdue is not very good defensively? Maybe a little bit of that, but maybe they just realized we have to go back to what Tanner does well and make him feel comfortable with the offense. And if that means taking the playbook from last year and saying this is what we're going to do, it just felt like they kind of got back to what he does well, and it paid off. So
Mo Ibrahim, you mentioned you covered Maroney, you covered Barber, you covered Gary Russell, Amir Penix. We've covered Rodney Smith, Shannon, David Cobb is one we forget about, who was so great his senior season.
Terrific, yeah.
So Mo Ibrahim, kind of the unlikely one. I know you wrote about him a couple of weeks ago, but what have your observations been of him? To me, he's just such a fun back to watch and what they want to do, and such a great kid and everything that goes, all the cliches that go along with college athletes that romantics like me like to associate, college football rubes like me. What have your observations been of Mo and how he's established himself as one of the best backs in the Big Ten?
Yeah, I'll say this, and this is what I wrote, that I've covered obviously bigger, faster, stronger, more talented, more elusive, everything you want to say running backs. I don't know that I've covered anyone that had more heart than that guy. And it's just, I asked PJ about that because it's one of those things. It's like it's easy to say, but it's hard to quantify. But just watch him run. It's like not bring him down. I mean, it's always extra effort, always fighting. I think, and I talked to Mo about it, I think his size does help him a little bit because he has, his center, as he says, center of gravity, he's lower and it's hard to get shot. I mean, he has big thighs, he can hide behind the line. But I think more than anything, it's just effort. I mean, I love the way he plays, and that guy squeezes every ounce out of his ability. And he's, he won't be remembered probably, in the same vein as some of the guys we mentioned. Obviously, it's Maroney, Barber, and some of those guys. But productive and he is a workhorse. You can give him as many carries, and he'll just keep taking it. And so he's been a fun guy to cover. He does remind me a little bit of Gary Russell in just kind of smaller and powerful. But he does it his own way. And you're right. Just an unbelievable person. And off the field, it sounds like he's every bit as quality as he is on the field too.
So last thing for you on football, the defense. Do you think there's a light at the end of the tunnel? And when would that, where is the tunnel? Is it the Lowry Hill tunnel? Is it a shorter tunnel? They're obviously playing a lot of different people, new people. PJ says, just wait for it. They're going to be good eventually. When will that eventually be, if ever?
Yeah, when is eventually? Now, I do think that the recruits that they have committed now, I think they're at a different caliber star, whatever you want to say. So I think there's hope there. But Justin, man, they started over in week 4 or in year 4 on defense. Mm-hmm. They start from scratch. And it is – I'm just stunned by how big a drop this has been for their defense. And I know you lose some really just outstanding players, and Winfield's one of the best that we've seen in a generation. But
right.
I didn't think it'd be this bad, to be honest with you. And so they have to hope these young guys, some of the, the young guys that are playing now, that eventually turn into difference makers, but it's just hard to see right now. It really is.
Yeah, PJ seems convinced. He's very adamant about it, and he's seen it before, he's done it before. But it's you're just fighting to hang on, and thankfully against Purdue, it's like they just scratched enough to get a couple of stops, because the way they're going to win games if they play anymore this year, it's going to be 34-31, right? You're going to have to get a turnover, maybe a blocked field goal, maybe hold a team to a field goal while your offense is being efficient. Now, with Bateman being out, that might change the calculus a little bit, but that's how they're going to have to win if they want to win any of these games coming down the stretch. And
in Purdue, you had a blocked field goal, a missed field goal, and a touchdown that was called back in the last minute, and so it looked different. You're right. It does feel like that defense is just hanging by a thread every series. It just feels like you're waiting for the big play, and there's been so many. I think the run defense more than anything, just going to last week, they're averaging 7.7. It's historic. I look back, that was like the second highest figure in the last dozen years in all of college football. And so you can't win that way. And so, yeah, you're right. PJ is convinced that these young guys he sees something that, we don't see behind the scenes, or he sees it coming and he's encouraged by it. But I mean, again, I go back to this is year 4. It's not year 1 where you're playing a bunch of freshmen. I mean, they are playing some upperclassmen. They started 7 upperclassmen in that Purdue game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not 11 freshmen out there playing.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on the show tonight. Have a great Thanksgiving, and maybe we'll see you from afar at a college football stadium at some point. I don't know, but if it's not for 2021, so be it, man.
Yeah, I hope we get another game or two in here. But you guys have a good Thanksgiving too, man. Thanks for being on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chipper. We'll say bye to Chipper and wrap up the Gopher review and preview for this week. A reminder to check out affinityplus.org to get more information on becoming a member for Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union. All of your financial problems, they can help, and they can do it on their top-rated mobile app. They can do it video banking. We're all probably going to be at home for a little while longer here, it looks like, at least until 2021. Affinityplus.org is the best way to start. Thank you for watching on this Wednesday night or whenever you check this out. Hopefully next week we'll be reviewing the Wisconsin-less week and previewing the Northwestern game, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you next week on Gopher Review.
At Affinity Plus, our members come first.
Affinity Plus helped me a lot to pass through this tough time.
My family was negatively affected.
Affinity Plus showed that they are invested in our success.
You are the top priority.
And they did it proactively.
I have found them to be respectful, supportive, and compassionate.
I don't feel judged.
I feel when I go, I'm in safe hands.
And that is why I bank with
Affinity Plus.